Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Let's jump right into something pretty wild today. We are exploring a fundamental reinvention of the economics of law. We're looking at workflows, paradigms, and literally the future of law itself. Okay, $331 billion. That represents the staggering size of the U.S. legal services market right now in 2024. It is just a mammoth industry. Organizations are desperately trying to manage the spend, but the demand for complex, corporate, regulatory, and litigation work, it just keeps going up.
And this is where the crisis gets really stark. The United States actually spends more on legal costs than its entire food supply chain. I mean, think about that for a second. We are spending more money on the friction of human relationships and administration than we are on the entire agricultural sector, the very thing that actually feeds us. Law has basically become this prohibitive, invisible tax on everything, making it incredibly difficult for startups and everyday people to even access justice.
And if you want to see how bad it's gotten, look at this figure. Over a 40-year span, from 1980 to 2020, the price of legal services inflated by over 275%. It completely blew past general inflation, growing at a relentless rate year after year. So we're looking at this massive divergence. Things like technology, media, and agriculture actually deflated in cost, some by as much as 90%. But human labor-intensive services, like education, healthcare, and law, just skyrocketed. Why? Because while we mechanized and automated how we produce goods and data, our legal system is still entirely stuck relying on the mental, manual labor of human lawyers. Which brings us to Section 1, Workflows versus Paradigms. Are we going to mechanize or reinvent? So, the crucial question is, how do we invert this hyperinflation? How do we turn law into a deflationary technology? A lot of folks look at legal tech as the ultimate savior for this cost crisis, but honestly, legal tech mostly just mechanizes existing, outdated workflows to help law firms break even and cope with an increasingly complex society. Legal engineering, on the other hand, is completely different. It's about inventing an entirely new, fully automated paradigm to proactively drive those costs down.
Let me give you a great analogy to make this concrete. If the traditional legal system is a horse and buggy, legal tech is like building a manure-scooping stable robot. It's great, right? It cleans up a messy part of an existing system so the stable hands don't have to. But you're still relying on the horse. Legal engineering is fundamentally different. It's like looking at that horse and buggy and deciding to build an electric vehicle from scratch. It's a total paradigm shift.
If you map this onto the classic technology adoption lifecycle, you can see exactly where we are. Legal tech is currently sitting in that frothy early majority phase. Big law is widely adopting LLMs and automated document tools, the stable robots. But legal engineering, our electric vehicle of law, is still way over there on the left. It's firmly in the visionary innovator stage.
Let's dive into Section 2, Enter Legal Engineering, the Visionary Stage. To understand how this revolutionizes entrenched systems, look at the progression. We're moving from the direct, muscular labor of traditional law, the horse and buggy, to the mechanical labor of legal tech, which is maybe like an early bus. But the ultimate destination for legal engineering is that third era, the fully automated, autonomous Waymo era. A future where legal relationships are processed seamlessly and automatically in the background.
And I really want to stress, this isn't some sudden fad. The foundation for legal engineering was actually laid decades ago. Back in the 1970s, Charles Goldfarb invented markup language, which demanded incredible precision from text. Then in the 1990s, computer scientist Nick Szabo pioneered the concept of smart contracts. Those innovations have already unlocked trillions in digital wealth, leading us to the late 2010s where the actual term legal engineer finally emerged alongside DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations.
Nick Szabo put it perfectly when he said, "Smart contracts can cut through this Gordian knot of jurisdictions. By actually embedding contractual clauses directly into software and hardware, we drastically lower transaction costs. We reduce our vulnerability to capricious local laws, and we significantly lower our reliance on traditional, expensive intermediaries." Ultimately, this paradigm shift demands a totally new class of professionals. We need highly literate experts who can evolve ambiguous, traditional legal language into precise, machine-readable computation.
So what's the holdup? That brings us to Section 3, the unlicensed practice barrier, regulatory roadblocks.
If this technology is so revolutionary, and the foundation has been around since the 90s, why hasn't it dropped our legal costs down to zero yet?
Well, the biggest roadblock is UPL, the unlicensed practice of law. This is a super outdated regulatory framework designed entirely around the premise of human lawyers giving specific advice. It definitely was not designed for software, algorithms, or automated smart contracts.
Because of this, legal engineering is caught in a trap. Traditional human deliverables, those are safe from a regulatory perspective. General software products are also safe, but bespoke legal apps, those tailor-fit automated solutions that are the true cost savers, they are trapped right in the middle, sitting in a highly risky regulatory gray area of UPL.
And traditional nation-states simply cannot accommodate these bespoke apps. Why? First, there's that massive UPL risk we just talked about. Second, legacy courts move far too slowly for the speed of modern digital business. Third, a lot of traditional legal norms are based on historical superstition rather than empirical facts. And finally, you just can't experiment with legal frameworks on an entire society all at once. It's just not safe.
Which leads us to Section 4, network states as sandboxes.
To bypass this massive regulatory barrier and escape those UPL restrictions, legal engineers are turning to a really fascinating geopolitical enabler: network states and special economic zones. Places like Zuzulu, Prosper in Honduras, and tech-friendly Swiss cantons are currently stepping up to serve as the much-needed regulatory sandboxes for bespoke legal apps.
These special zones allow for something called polycentric law. This means legal engineers can safely test different regulatory solutions and bespoke legal apps in a highly contained, localized environment. Just like you'd test a medical breakthrough in a lab before giving it to the public, we can test these new legal paradigms safely before releasing them out into the broader society.
Let's wrap up with Section 5, the abundant legal future, law as a technology.
So what happens when these experimental sandboxes finally succeed and these bespoke apps are proven safe and effective? The goal is to completely shift how law functions. Instead of being governed by superstitious norms or slow-moving traditions, law becomes governed by empirical facts and scientific certainty. When that happens, legal relationships shift from being scarce and expensive to being mechanically abundant.
Just imagine a future where the cost to set up a comprehensive ironclad family trust drops from thousands and thousands of dollars down to just $10. By applying the exact same deflationary mechanical forces to law that we applied to transportation and agriculture, we can make justice and legal protection accessible to absolutely everyone.
I want to leave you pondering this final question today. As we face a world of hyperinflated costs, are we going to remain stuck optimizing the horse and buggy era with manure scooping robots? Or are we finally ready to embrace the legal engineers, utilize these network states, and build the autonomous engine of a newly abundant society? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to rethink how we build the legal vehicles of tomorrow. See you next time.